Let's see, make sure we're all here. Good morning, my people. Kaffeeklatsch. I'm not gonna say anything because we have our special guest. So good morning, everyone. All right, all right, all right. Let's get this episode started. Hello, where's my opener? Whoa, where's the opener?
Hello.
There she goes.
Welcome to MoB Kaffeeklatsch, episode 122, and enjoy the show.
Thank you. It's so awesome. Thank you. Awesomeness. Hello, everyone. Let me make sure I can see the faces and the names and everything. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see who's here. I'll say it. Let me see. Good morning, Connie. Good morning, Chris Mendoza. Make sure you don't know somersaults today. Good morning, Kitty. Mary Beth, good morning. Heather, good morning. Anthony, good morning. Good ball of unyielding fire in the sky. Oh, it must be really hot in the south today. Wow. Audrey, good morning. Elizabeth, good morning. Let's see. Linda, good morning. So we have an opener today. Yes. Yeah, she always does a great job. So if we go back in MoB Kaffeeklatsch episodes, we can actually see her as tiny as she grows older. Yeah. It's an actual timeline of Z getting older doing MoB Kaffeeklatsch opening and closings. It's amazing. I gotta start training her so she can just start doing the MoB Kaffeeklatsch. Be awesome. I can just sit back and be like, "Go ahead, Z, do the show." Good morning, Dan, Mr. Awesome. How's everything? Oh, it's in relation to what Anthony's saying, it's hot, but today it's nice. It's in the 70s today, which is uncharacteristically cool for this time of the year. But it has been a few days we've had of like scorching temperatures, but I think it's gonna rain today. And for those of you near Texas or in the South, that just had to deal with the hurricane, I hope you guys are all doing well and don't have too much flooding. Hola, Paige. Good morning. Thank you for the shout outs on the wiki, and hopefully we'll start recruiting some people to help you and Jeanette add some more stuff to the wiki. Basically, I know it's a huge project, and so I know you guys can't do it all, and you've done an amazing job so far. So thank you so much, Paige, and a huge thank you to Jeanette. I know she's compiling information to give to you or to kind of add to the wiki to make it a little bit more robust and full of information, which is what wikis are. So thank you, Paige. I mean, you guys have done an amazing job, and the images are incredible. Thanks. And Dolly's here, so she's right on point. Let me put this is the link to the wiki, so in case you want to visit, and if you have any ideas or suggestions or information that you need to add, you can add it to the wiki and speak to Paige and Jeanette. But I would say speak to Paige, both of you. So it's not easy, but that's like creating an encyclopedia page for a whole I guess a whole world, a book world, and it's a lot of information. You made it, Anne. Welcome. Yay. You made it. So contributing to a wiki is a lot of work. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, and I know the people that are involved in this, not just the wiki, although the wiki is amazing, but like, you know, Dolly and Chris, these are people who don't like to be called to the front. You know, they like to hang out in the back behind the scenes. But you guys, I'm the face. You see me as the face of Monty and Strong and all the writing, and I do the writing. But behind the scenes, there's a lot of work that goes into everything that happens. Even the show, Chris is doing his technomancy. Dolly's flying co-pilot next to me right over here behind the screen. You can't see her, but she's there smiling. Smile, Dolly. There she goes. So even though you see me as the face, and even Z, who opens and closes, and she's been doing it for like half her life at this point, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you don't see, that you don't really get to see, but that goes into making this a smooth running enterprise. So a huge shout out to everyone, all the infrastructure people, all the people who usually don't get thank yous. A huge humble thank you to all of you, because I couldn't do this without you. All right, so I'm going to hide this, but please go visit the wiki and go see the amazing work Paige and Jeanette have done. And yeah, let's get the show started. All right. So some shout outs. We have 17 people already. Jeez, wow. A lot of people here already. Okay. I'm hot. So you're gonna have to excuse me because summer is my it's my I love the summer. I really do. And I used to look forward to summer every year. But my body always runs hot. I'm like the furnace. I can wear shorts in the winter and be comfortable, and my children look at me like I've lost my mind. But summer kills me because it's just so hot. And Dolly knows I don't like the heat too much, even though I love summer. If you can tell, I caught some color. I'm a little browner. So we went to the beach, and I baked at the beach, which was nice. I've got some nice color. Awesome. Okay, some shout outs to everyone on YouTube. Thank you. You guys are awesome for being here. You know, my usual, I'm going to call it the spiel, but the usual YouTube spiel. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Share, the page, the site with everyone, the YouTube page that we have. Share with everyone, and let people know what we're doing here every 2 weeks. Oh, okay, so a little backtrack. We didn't have a show last week, even though we were scheduled for the 5th, because it was July 4th. And it's a holiday, it's a major holiday here in the US, not around the world, but in the US. So we took the 5th off to make sure everybody would have the 4th, the 5th, the 6th kind of uninterrupted. And we're here today. So that's why if you were looking for a MoB episode last week and you didn't see one, that is why. Okay. Figure everybody should get a break and be able to, enjoy the 4th, which is nice. So on YouTube, let's put up the link. This is our YouTube link. Boom. This is us on YouTube. Thank you, Dolly. We're at Bitten Peaches Publishing, youtube.com. So just all you have to do is just tell someone else, tell one other person about our page, what we do. Kind of, it's the show about, it's the Seinfeld of writing shows, I guess. Hello, Enid, welcome. And so we kind of talk about everything here. You guys know what we do. We talk about writing. We talk about the projects that we're doing. We talk about life and what it means to be an author and a writer. It's kind of a little bit of everything. I need to start getting on my other Creative Warrior Wisdom show, the little shorts that I'm creating. But what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to kind of shape those shorts around Stoic ideas. And so if you know what the Stoic philosophy is, it's basically a certain way of being that we could really use today in present day. I'm going to start having each short be centered around a Stoic idea. So I'm working on that. I'm working on fleshing that out a little bit more. So that's what's happening with that. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of those shorts. The goal is to make them daily, but we'll see how we can do. If it's only 5 minutes, I think I can kind of do 5 minutes of a Stoic idea and limit myself to 5 minutes. I think the limiting myself to 5 minutes is going to be the hard part. Okay. So everyone on YouTube, hello, YouTube world. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Please support us and share the word to everyone. On Instagram, we're at Bitten Peaches. So Instagram, I haven't really done much on Instagram this month because my schedule has been insane, but I'm cutting back the schedule just a little bit, and I'm gonna see if I can start adding some more stuff to Instagram, like what I say every show. But it's important to keep the Instagram presence going, and it's important to share more of what's happening with the books on Instagram. And because we have a few books that are wide, like Blur and Faded Fury, I want to kind of add more of their presence on Instagram to get more people interested in what's happening there. Let's see. We're on Zazzle. We don't have any Zazzle swag, right now? I mean, we do have a lot of Zazzle swag. We don't have any new Zazzle swag. So, but if you need swag, this is our Instagram link. So go there to Instagram. If you're not on Instagram by now, then just go to this link and you can just follow us there. So we're at Instagram. At Bitten Peaches. You can find us. It's easy because we have Bitten Peaches everywhere. On Zazzle, this is our Zazzle link. And so we just go there. That's the reference link. I don't know why you're still awake. I know why you're awake, Jeanette, because you didn't want to miss. You didn't want to miss. Wow. You didn't want to miss the MoB Kaffeeklatsch. And your brain, your body knows at this time, on this day, I need to be awake to catch the MoB Kaffeeklatsch. There you go. So that's why you're still awake. Boom. Okay. So on Zazzle, just that's the link. Go there, use that reference number, get some swag. This is Zazzle swag. This is not Zazzle swag. This is I got these specially made because I was going to 20 books 50K, and I didn't want to wear too formal stuff. But this is a Bin Peaches shirt. If you look closely at the logo, that's Peaches inside of an open book, which is awesome. That's my design. It was fantastic. It was a great idea. So yeah, but this is swag. This is M&S swag, and go there. If you check out the store, you'll see a whole bunch of amazing stuff that our lead designers came up with, that our designers and our lead designer came up with. Okay, on Patreon, because Patreon is awesome. We have some new Patreon people. It's incredible. Our Patreon keeps growing. Hello, Laura. Welcome. We have Sarah Sofianos, Ash, just Ash. So, some people are just famous that way. Samantha Rentz, Marie Stein, E.A. Again, some people just don't want to give out their whole name, so they just give initials. And Fred Westfall. So a huge shout out to all these people who decided to go above and beyond and support us through our Patreon. We want to give you a huge shout out. We put you in the book. If you're part of our Patreon, there are a lot of perks to being part of our Patreon. You get to be put in all the books. From the moment you joined onward, we put you in the Patreon page in our book. We shout you out here. You get stories, like exclusive stories for Patreon. The last story, Darkness, was really good. I can't see. Get some sleep, Jeanette. Yes, really, go get some sleep. It's good. It's good for your health to get some sleep. Thank you so much for coming in and saying hello, though. It's good to have you here, but I know you need to get some sleep. The last Patreon story, Darkness, was wow. I don't know how would I classify that story, Dolly? Deep. It's like I can't go into it too much because if you're not part of Patreon, you're not going to read it, so I don't want to spoil it for you. Good night, Jeanette. But it was a really, really interesting story, and it took me back to my childhood. So if you want to read that story, all you got to do is join Patreon, and I think you can join for free now, right? Do they get the stories of their free members? Not the stories, but they get access to other things. Yes. So there are a lot of benefits to joining Patreon that I think you guys should all be part of Patreon. There is a free tier that you could be on as well. Dolly, can you list the benefits somewhere and put it on the Facebook group? Yeah, like what all the tiers get. Sure. So that way you know what you get when you join Patreon. Here's our Patreon link. Thank you, Dolly. So that way you know what you get at every link, because sometimes you just want to get some things and sometimes you want to get a little bit more. So the tiers are broken up so that you can get access to different things. And, I know this for a lot of people, this is an easy thing. And for a lot of people, it's like, no, I don't want to do it right now, or maybe I'll do it later. So at the very least, join the free tier and you kind of stay in the loop. And then if you want to increase that later on in the future, you can. So huge shout out to all our patrons. You guys are amazing, and I really, really appreciate you. And I appreciate everyone in the MoB and all the readers. You guys are incredible. So yeah, it's fantastic. Chris, we have one promo, I think you said. So can we get that link and then we can promote our indie authors? Because that would be awesome. So you guys know that one of the main things of the MoB, one of the main things of my mission as an author is that it's important for me to reach back and promote other authors. So this author, Kimbra, is I've known her since she started her writing career. Basically, she's been around for a while now. She's an established indie author. She wrote in the Trailer Park Universe, I think it's called, if I'm not mistaken. She has a new book. Do we have the title? Can you find the title of that book, baby? Thank you. So she has a new book. She took a break from her writing for a little while, and she's getting back into it. And yeah, she's a great writer. Her Trailer Park stories are really fun. She's been to 20 books, 50K a few times. So I've seen her. I think it's Breaking Point Magic City Blues. Okay, here we go. Boom. So that's the title, Breaking Point Magic City Blues. That's the link. Okay, and let me give you the whole thing so you can see everything there. So Breaking Point, Magic City Blues, Book 1 by Kimbra Swain, and this is the link. Please go get this book, pick it up. It's a book 1 in a new series in an established world. So please go do that. Let's support Kimbra. We support our indie writers. The new book, Treading Water, this is the new book. Book 2, Treading Water, is a new book that she's coming out with. So let's support Kimbra. Let's get her. She's kind of jumping back into the writing game. So let's help her. Just get these things out there. So it's important that we support our indie writers because we help them be able to write and continue to write. All right. So how are you guys doing? I think that's all for now. We'll get to the other updates in a moment because it's almost, my God, it's almost 12. What happened? Does time accelerate when we start these mob things? I don't understand. I don't understand. Okay, so how are you all doing? We had a week break, so we pushed it back a week. I had some time at the beach, and Dolly sent me a kind of notice that said there's been sharks at the beach, so I don't know about going back to the beach. Good morning, Wendy. It's okay. So if you're one of my kids, you know that one of my pet peeves or whatever it is you want to call it is like, don't go into the water, don't go too deep in the water because there are sharks in the water. And they roll their eyes and give me this look. But then Dolly goes and sends me a text. Sharks have been sighted in the beach. So I'm like, it's a nightmare that I don't want my kids to ever go through something like getting bitten by a shark. So yeah, that's not something I want them to go through ever. And so I'm a little, as they say, petro. I get helicopterish at the beach. I kind of watch them. Although the water at the beach last time, okay, oh my God, I need to share this with you. So we went to Rockaway this year, right? We went to Rockaway. Usually we go to Jones or we go to Fire Island, the Lighthouse Beach. We go way out near Kismet. If I mean, these could just be names. You may not know anything if you don't know New York beaches. But the water at the beach, the last time we went was what? Last week Monday? Was it last week Monday? One of those days we went. It was subarctic. It was so cold that you would walk in and I don't mind cold water, but this was an ice bath. You would walk in, about 2 minutes in, your legs would start to tingle from the cold, and about 3 minutes in, your legs were numb. It was insane how cold that water was. And so I would bake, I'd get really, really hot, I'd go jump in the water, I'd get really, really cold, and then I'd have to run out because it was that cold. Usually I stay in the water and hang out, and no, it was bad. It was really, really bad. Let's see. I hope you don't get Lyme disease, Kitty. Welcome, Joe. It's some crazy hour in the morning, I know, for you as well. Let's see. Scarlett, happy birthday. Yay. Another revolution around the sun is awesome. Laura, take it easy. If you're recovering from eye surgery, keep that eye covered if you have to, things like that. Let's see. Hypothermia. Yes, that's exactly what it was. I told Dolly, she looked at me. Dolly didn't even go. You didn't even go in the water.
I did.
Up to your ankles.
I did.
That's not going in the water. Like going in the water. Sure. It was beyond bracing. I've never been to the beach with water that cold ever in my life, and I've gone to the beach my whole life. It was ridiculously cold. I didn't understand it. There was a current from the north somewhere, from the North Pole, I guess. I don't know what it was. It was cold, really cold. Let's see. Heather said she found 2 books on using neuroscience to improve writing. Yeah, NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, right? Mm-hmm. Neuro-linguistic has been around for a while, and it's used not just for science, it's kind of used for a lot of things, but NLP has been around for a long time in terms of kind of like hack your own brain kind of thing. And the neuroscience, in terms of using that to improve your writing, is really it's based or it's founded on real science, and you can actually hack your brain and use language to not just improve your writing but improve your life or improve habits or kind of work with your own brain the way your brain works to get around things that might be obstacles. So neurolinguistic programming is really really important. Yeah. Oh look, so Scarlett has a twin today. Anthony, happy birthday. Happy birthday to all of you whose birthday it is today. Usually, I don't usually make it a big deal in terms of birthdays because, I don't want people to feel like, oh, he forgot my birthday if it happens to fall on a day where I don't, say birthdays. But I always try to make it a habit to say happy birthday when Facebook notifies me that it's your birthday. I don't usually do it in the mob like other groups do, excuse me. But I always try to make personal, like, hey, happy birthday, and I'll send a text and things like that because it's nice to be remembered on your birthday, at the very least. So I always try to do that. If I ever miss your birthday, I apologize, but I always try to make it a point to say happy birthday. So for those of you who are celebrating your birthdays today, happy birthday, Anthony, and happy birthday, Scarlett. I'm sure both of you are 23 today. So yes, and young and vibrant, full of life. Okay, so that has been my experience the last few days, last week or so. July 4th, we kind of hung out. We didn't really go out. We don't really do fireworks as much. Maybe we should do it next year. I don't know. It depends where we are. But fireworks in New York City is you see it once. It's the same thing every year. And then also it's a little dangerous because people are throwing fireworks everywhere, and it's not a controlled thing. Like you go to one place and there are fireworks going on. Like it sounds like a war zone. You hear things going off all night. Actually, not even July 4th, July 3rd, you're hearing things going off all night. So when I was younger, much younger and very very reckless and crazy, I'd go out and play with fireworks and throw out M80s and firecrackers and things like that. But I've seen enough of my friends lose fingers to know that that's not something I want my kids to do. So I saw this whole article on Gen X, and I'll share with the mob one day. We are truly a very forgotten and dangerous generation, Gen X. It's interesting. Yeah, Linda, that's basically what it sounds like. And once once the sun drops, it gets crazy. It sounds like a war, like this battle out in the streets. And I don't want the kids out in that because I don't think they've ever been outside on a July 4th to be playing around with fireworks. Plus, when I was a kid, getting fireworks was easy, even though it was still illegal. It was easy. But now the fireworks, from what I understand, have increased in intensity, and you don't want kids playing with that kind of stuff because they don't know how to play with explosives and things like that. Like at least my generation, we didn't only play with explosives. We would make I don't know if any of you guys grew up taking the soda cans or the soup cans, and what you would do is you'd get a bunch of soup cans together, and then you'd take off the bottoms, and then you'd tape all of the cans. You'd take like 6-7 cans, you tape them all together. Then you'd open up a whole bunch of, I don't want YouTube to get in trouble, YouTube. Then you'd open up a bunch of M80s, and you take all the gunpowder and put it inside, and then you light that and make bazooka. You make a bazooka. It's the kind of things we would do as kids. So it's the kind of stuff that I don't want them to do or learn. So we're gonna stick to just watching fireworks on the TV or things like that, or on big displays out like at Macy's or things that way. Yeah, bazookas for sure. I mean, we grew up doing things like that and worse. So yeah, that's still probably going on, or things like that are going on, and so we kind of avoid July 4th for that. Let's see. Wendy says, for me, I don't really care about the fireworks, but the animals, yeah. That's the other thing about the July. We don't have winter any longer, but the animals don't like July 4th or like big storms. Just do the same thing, like thunder and lightning, all that stuff, because imagine you're hearing and it sounds like World War III. Imagine an animal's hearing, it's like whoa. I mean, it must be so much. It must be magnified 10 times. So it sounds like the world is exploding. So they get scared, they cower, they whimper, they whine. So it's not fun for them either. And so you need to have some kind of like blanket to cover them or let them be close to you, things like that. So that's another reason why July 4th is not fun for a lot of people. Wendy's saying, for me, I don't really care about the fireworks, but the animals I care for that cower, meltdown, are terrified out of their minds. Yeah, you hate the people that shooting fireworks because there's no real consideration for animals given on that day. Linda says, when I was younger, there would be block parties on the 4th where everyone had fireworks. Right. Things like that, it's mostly like sparklers or Roman candles. I remember the Roman candles. We used to have Roman candle wars because we would, we were crazy. So we would actually aim the Roman candles at each other. That's the kind of thing we would do. Use lighter fluid. Yes, Enid, I remember that. Yeah, we would not. I don't know how most of us made it to it today because we would do things that was just completely crazy. Yeah, it's not just fireworks. Sure, because if you're not in the city, you can do a lot of other things, Kitty. So it's crazy. Yeah, it's a lot. I've been outside of the city during July 4th, and it's a big, big deal. It's crazy. Let's see. Auntie says my uncle Lefty would toss M80s into our bonfire. Yeah. And that's where his name was born. Yeah. You throw an M80 into a bonfire. So an M80, for those of you that don't know fireworks, is 1/4 of a stick of dynamite, if I'm not mistaken. So 4 of those, and trust me, we would get 4 or more and tie them together and then light them. Because you know what? I can't explain it. It's just the fascination with things exploding. Dad's brother and neighbors would have firework wars. It was census, and every year, if I'm not mistaken, almost every year someone would lose something, a finger. It would explode in their hand, and they ended up in the hospital. It was never fun for the person who held on a little too long to a firework. Yeah, and the people would see, and that's the other thing, Paige. And that's a really good point. The people with PTSD do not do well on July 4th because it all comes right back. And so we don't really do that kind of thing, Yeah, Anthony, listen, my kids will not survive my childhood, like the things that we did and the things that we did for fun. My kids will not survive that childhood, and I wouldn't want them to. I'm not glorifying it. It's just what it was, and it wasn't the best way to be raised. It just made you a certain way, Let's see. Yeah, the kids and the animals are, Connie, I totally agree. I wouldn't want to see, for me, if the kids wanted to go out on July 4th, I'd have to go with them. They'd have to be chaperoned, and they're not gonna want that. So you know what? We just take it off the table, Because I know I wouldn't want to be chaperoned when I was young, but then I was young and feral. Okay, Heather's giving the names to the books. One is Wired for Story, Dolly, a writer's guide to using brain science to hook readers from the first sentence. That is very good. If that's the goal of that book, it's an excellent goal. The second one is Story Genius, how to use brain science to go beyond outlining and write a riveting novel. Both are by Lisa Cron. So listen, if you're an aspiring writer, these are books that you may want to look into. Bye, Anne. We're not here next week. We'll be here the week after. It's every 2 weeks. So thank you so much for dropping in. And we'll post up, we always post a notice up in the mob. But thank you so much for popping in and saying hello. Yeah, so get these books if you're a writer and you feel like you need to kind of have a different strategy for writing your stories. It's always good to kind of stay current. It's always good to have strategies on writing a story. And so it's important that you learn as much as you can and you have a toolbox, right, as a writer. So you want to fill that toolbox with as much as you can. But here's the thing, that comes with a caveat. And I used to do this, and I can tell you, if I move the camera, I could show you, I have, right, just from looking, I have about 10 writing books next to me. If I were to go to my library, which is in the living room, I don't know, how many books on writing do I have? Jeez, shelves. I have shelves of writing books. And here's the thing, it's good to read those books. It's good to learn. And you have to study your craft. But like world building, don't let reading about writing is not writing. Reading about world building is not writing. Writing is writing, And so I got stuck in that loop for a while. And I still read books on writing, but not as much. But I got stuck in that loop of I gotta read this book on writing so I could, make my writing better. And the only way you make your writing better is to write and to keep writing and to keep writing and to get better and better and practice. And it's the one part that as writers in the beginning we don't like, because it means that you got to write a lot of stuff that's not so great, but you got to do it because you got to write. A writer told me, you got to write the suck out. You got to write all the sucky stuff, all the crappy stuff. You got to write it out, get it out of you, and then you can start looking to the stuff that you can polish a bit more. So don't get caught, because I got caught in that trap. I really did. I used to, because I love reading, right? And so I got caught in that trap of I gotta read, I gotta get the next writing book, or I gotta get this guy wrote a book about writing, and things like that. It's great to read. It's great to read these books. It's great to learn. You want to learn and you want to polish your craft. But the best way to polish the craft of writing is writing. And that means writing things that won't work, writing things that sound clunky, writing things that make no sense. And you're like, why did I even come up with this? What's going on? You have to get all of that out so you can start learning how things work together and how stories flow. And you only do that by actually writing, getting a story, making it coherent, making it cohesive. And then you want to get what's in your head out onto a page or a screen. You want to write the suck out, like Wendy is saying. It's really hard for me, and I think for most writers, but it's really hard for me, that translation from what's in your head to what's going to be in your hand as a book. There's a huge chasm between the two. And so to get that as close as possible to match means that you have to write. It's good to read, it's good to learn, but you got to write. The practice is necessary. Like Kitty is saying, practice is necessary for all skills. So yeah, writing is intimidating, Anthony. I agree. And sometimes I'll read something and I'll be like, wow, that was so well done. Because you read a writer, maybe a writer you admire or a writer that you like and that you love, that you read all the stories and you read and you go, that's just fantastic writing. Or sometimes I'll see a show, an episode, right? And I'll be like right now, I'll give you a case in point. Right now, we just finished the Mr. Queen series. It's a Korean drama. So I'm hooked on Korean dramas right now, thanks to my wife, Dolly, right? So we watched Mr. Queen, and we finished Mr. Queen, 20 episodes, but the writing was so good. And now I'm looking for another series, and we watch an episode, like, that's not that great. Or that's miscast. Or this isn't going to... So we're shooting them all down. But for me, it's mostly the writing. Like, I was watching Vincenzo, which is another supposedly really good series. And the character went from badass consigliere from Italian mafia to goofy lawyer who gets duped by two con men. And like, how do you make the same character do the... It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So the writing is really important for me. And so that's a very long way of saying, yes, read the books. Yes. There's another thing I used to do. I used to go to all courses. I went to Julia Cameron's course. I went to all these courses on writing. I went to a bunch of them. I mean, a lot of them, right? I went to like a whole bunch. And it's good. Go do that. Get it all done. But at the end of the day, if you want to be a writer, you got to write. Okay? Anthony's saying, thank you for saying that. Writing is intimidating for one who truly admires the craft. I've been writing an hour a day just to build up. Yes. Julia Cameron in her course is she has 3 days of 3 pages of free writing. So she starts every day with 3 pages of just free writing. You write whatever it is that you want to write. There's no structure. It's just that it just has to be 3 pages. That helps for a lot of people because you just get these ideas out and you get it out and you get it out and you're writing and you're writing and writing. And before you know it, it's done. And it's 3 pages and sometimes it can be more, but it's like that, Don Bender on Patreon says, come to Surfside Beach. Water is 78 degrees. Wow. Also, does Simon and Tristan have middle names? Love your books, but S&M is favorite. You want to reverse that and make it M&S because if you say S&M is my favorite, that's a whole different thing. Anthony says, I mean, I would love 78-degree waters, but I'm not going to Surfside Beach. That sounds too far away. So, yeah, but 70 degrees, it sounds beautiful. Anthony says the first couple of seasons of The West Wing are masterclass in writing. Yes, and the same with The Wire. And there are a few other shows from that era that the writing was like Cheers or Frasier, things like that. I mean, these are shows that you can sit there. Yes, the characters are fantastic. Yes, the stories are funny or riveting. But if you peel back everything and just look at the writing, you'll just be amazed at how talented the writing was. So it all comes down to the writing. And so I'm going to reiterate it just for those of you who are writers, for those of you who want to pursue this. Writing, reading the books, taking the courses, studying, that's all important, and I would say it's necessary. But at the end of all of that, you got to actually write. Don't get caught up in the world building. Don't get caught up in the books. Don't get caught up in the courses. Don't get caught up in the critique groups, and don't get caught up in going to conferences and all this other stuff, because all that is writing adjacent, and it seems like you're doing something towards your writing, and you are. But at the end of the day, you've got to write. You got to get the ideas out, and you've got to actually do them. You've got to get those ideas onto some medium, whether it's spoken or written. It doesn't have to be a book. It could be poetry. It could be something else. But you got to get it out, And so that's where that fear comes in. The fear of, what if people don't like what I write? In the beginning, people are not going to like what you write. It's just so it is. Just write it. Get it out. If I looked at the first things that I wrote, and Dolly did, she looked at a lot of the first things I wrote, and I still cringe at The Spiritual Warrior, even though a lot of people say it's a great story. It has a cast of thousands. I can't even keep track of how many people are in The Spiritual Warriors at some point. I remember Dante, but there's like Silk. Well, I remember Silk because of Dan, always. But there are a lot of people, there are a lot of characters in The Spiritual Warriors, and I would say that's not a good idea to do that first off, So you learn. You start writing and you learn. That's like Heather saying, that's something Kron says, forget plot and write. In the beginning, yes, plot is important. I wouldn't say forget it completely, but in the beginning, if the plotting is what's stopping you, like the outlining and getting the story, and now you want to have story beats, and you got to have the 3-act structure, and you got to see what's the inciting incident, and all the stuff that goes into forming a plot or forming an outline or creating a plot, you can get bogged down there as well. And then you forget to write the actual story. You've got to, the priority, which you've got to really focus on, is that there's a story that needs to be told. Okay, you get that. That's the foundation. Now, how do I tell this story? How do I get this story from what's in my head to something that someone can read or share or partake in? That's what you have to think about as a writer. That's what's important. And that's what's hard. That's the hard part. Getting it from here to your computer or to a notepad or something. That's the hard part. And that's the intimidating part, like Anthony is saying. It is intimidating. When you hold a book in your hand, and and you look at it and you see this person, and this person took 5 months, 6 months, 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, it gets intimidating, because you think about how can I do that? When you become a writer, you start looking at those books and say, I know I can do that. And then it gets to a point where you say, okay, I have to learn how to do that. Because we all start with, I can write. I've been writing my entire life. How hard can this be? Oh, it gets pretty hard really quick. You start realizing it's not as easy as it seems. But it's not as impossible as it seems either. So there's a medium there. There's a happy medium somewhere in the middle there. You gotta discover it, and you gotta find out what works for you. Okay, let's stop the rant on writing at this point. All right, let me give some updates. Let's see, what do we got? Okay, I'm currently working on, I want to say 3 projects. Outcast, Stone. Outcast is M&S 24. Yes, 24. M&S 24. Stone, which is John Kane 2, which is the Blur story, the John Kane series. Blur was the first one. Stone is the second one. And Death Dancers, which is, if you like the sci-fi story I've written, the Dread Warlock, this is part 2, because those are short. Those are novellas. So Outcast will be out. The art is going to be open probably by the 22nd. So get ready. If you want to get ready to shred, the art is coming up quick. July 22nd. Stone will be, the art for Stone will be out shortly after that. I'm just kind of piggybacking off each other, right? And then Death Dancers, because it's a novella, it doesn't really go to the art. It's so short, you know. Um, it'll go out shortly after that because Death Dancers, like I think I've shared it before. Death Dancers is like a passion project for me. It's like sci-fi, and I really enjoy my sci-fi roots, and I kind of explore all that fun stuff in Death Dancers. And I got Daisy, the sentient AI computer, and the sentient ship, and with little sprinklings of Farscape. If you ever seen that show, Daisy is very similar to that ship. And all the cast of characters in the Dread Warlock and the Blackjacks are a lot of fun. And so it's basically a fun write for me. And so that's what's happening. Outcast is the end of the month, the 22nd, and art will be ready. Stone will be shortly after that. Oh, this is great news. The audiobook, you can pre-order the next audiobook, which is Blood Lessons. Yes? Yes. Blood Lessons, our next audiobook, is available now for pre-order. So go get it. You can go to our website, right? Yeah? Yes. You want to put the link up? Just send them there if they want to go. So go get Blood Lessons. It's being done by Kevin, the same guy who did all the other audiobooks. So this is a link to go to shop there, get this is the pre-order for Blood Lessons, the audiobook. If you enjoy audiobooks. I wasn't a big audiobook listener prior to listening to this narrator, but ever since, and Dolly loves audiobooks, like she really likes audiobooks, and so she really turned me on to audiobooks. And Kevin is a fantastic narrator. So this is book 17. So we're a little bit behind. There's a little lag, but we're back on track to getting all our books done. So Kevin's doing this book. This book should be done, ready by the end of September. So really soon. And so be ready. Go get it. Go to that link, pre-order it, and then you'll have it. So can we talk about InkersCon? I can talk about InkersCon, right? Okay. So recently, oh look, I'll put this up. Just read this. Let me just put this up here. There's a discounted price for the audiobook pre-order so that it is less than the cost of an Audible credit. This gives you the option to purchase directly from that link. You guys got that? It's a discounted price. So go get the pre-order because you get it for a discounted price. Less than an Audible credit, which is awesome. So recently I had the privilege of giving a talk. I guess it's giving a talk, yeah. At InkersCon, which is going on. Is it going on now?
It starts on the 20th.
Okay. So I gave a presentation because I'm not going to travel anywhere to go give a presentation. Not presently, right? So let me hide this now. So thank you, Dolly. That's really good. It's important news to have. So when I'm part of InkersCon, which starts on the 20th, and it's like a convention for, as you guessed it, for writers and people who are into writing. InkersCon starts the 20th. We have a code, right, for authors. So because I was part of this, they offered a discount code. I give a presentation. So here's the code. It starts the 20th. If you are a writer or you want to be a writer, you can use this code, and you get a discount because it's a con, so there's going to be a cost involved. But you get a discount at the con. It's not anything for me. It's for you guys to be able to participate if you so choose. But I was able to do a presentation. Dolly helped me considerably. She did all the PowerPoint amazing stuff, and it's on brandcraft. So it's really fun. It's something that's really important. And it's like, why do we need a brand as an author? It's really important to kind of understand that. Like, why do I have M&S look this way? Why do I have my Peaches logo? And we have a workbook as well for this. So it's really fun. But why brandcraft is important. And so we get into it. I get into it in the presentation. And I think you guys can learn a lot from that. And it was a fun experience. I'd never done a presentation that way before. I did do a talk. I was part of a panel at 20 Books 50 Con. 20 Books 50 Con, geez. 20 Books to 50K.
That's bad. 20 books.
20 Books to 50 Cons. Don't do that. At 20 Books 50K, I was on a panel on one of the, I went like 2 times. So one of those times I went, I did a panel on writing and urban fantasy and things like that. So that was fun. This presentation was a little bit different because it was just me alone speaking, basically like what we're doing now with the Kaffeeklatsch. But it was just on a very singular subject, which is brand craft and what it is and why it's important for authors to have it. So if I get the clearance from Inkers Con late in sometime in the future, I'll share it with the writers. We'll have it in a format where we can share it with the authors of the MoB. I don't know yet. I don't want to put that out there because it belongs to Inkers Con. So I did the presentation for them. So I can't say I'm just gonna share with you guys because it really doesn't belong to me. Even though I gave the presentation, it belongs to Inkers Con. If they give me the go ahead later on after the con, and hey, you want to share it, then I'll share with you guys. But if you want to catch it and you want to look at it, you can go to Inkers Con. It's like going to a convention. It's like going to a conference. You just go there, and I'm not just the only speaker. There are a lot of presentations. There are a lot of ideas. A lot of fantastic authors doing things and sharing information for those. But again, you take that, you learn it, and you got to implement it. Okay, so let's go on. The next. So we're looking at September now. In September, which is not that far away. I always think, it's so a few months away. No, it's actually pretty close. But the next Night Warden story comes out in September, near the end of September. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And that month is the next Patreon story. Oh, the next Patreon story is so good. You really want to, let me tell you, the next Patreon story, which is called The Bureau, is going to, from what I can tell of writing it, and these are like short stories, but from what I can tell, basically the same way I can tell with Peanut, that Peanut was going to be a much bigger character than she was in that story. The next Patreon story, The Bureau, is going to start a new series. It's that good. So you want to get into Patreon before that story drops, because once that story drops, I have a feeling that my brain is going to be like, okay, I got to start writing this series. And I am going to start writing that series. I already have the foundation for a lot of the story. So I can only tell you that it's called The Bureau, and it's really good. It's really, really good. I would say it's near a Monty and Strong level of good. So, and it's darker, it's grittier, it has magic. It's very, it's not even, I wouldn't say it's like Monty and Strong. It has its own thing, but it's almost on par with, I can't tell you too much, but take my excitement for this story as an indicator that you should become a patron just to read that story, The Bureau. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. So the next story comes out for Patreon September 30th, and then somewhere in October we do the next Fate of the Dark Mages, which is Val's story, which is the romantasy. I have some links here for Inker.
I corrected it.
Oh, you corrected it? Okay, here you go.
Deleted, yeah.
All right, so it starts July 20th. It's a digital conference, so you can do it from the comfort of your home. And here's the, okay, you can use, I have my own code, Orlando24. Nice. All right, so the whole con is 100% online. Go use the reference number or use my code, and then you get a discount. So go for it, guys. It's worth it. I know who runs the person who runs the con, Alessandra. She's a great person. I've met her at 20 Books. She's also an author, so she knows what she's talking about. So go and see if it's something you want to explore and follow and get into. Like I said, good to go to cons. It's good to read the books. It's good to do all that stuff. It just gives you tools for your toolbox. I met a lot of people, authors, editors, and people at the 20 Books to 50K who have helped me along my way. So it's kind of important to reach out and immerse yourself in these things. Especially as a writer, we have a tendency to kind of withdraw into our world and not get out there enough. And you kind of want to, at least in the beginning, you want to kind of get out there, meet other authors, realize that you're not alone, realize that, yes, the writing could be a lonely exercise, it could be a lonely career, but you're not alone. It's there are a lot of us out there that write, and amazingly, there are a lot of authors that will reach out to help you, that will reach out to give you some advice, that will reach out to point you in the right direction. yes, it's a lonely world, but you're not alone. So get out of your comfort zone just a bit. And this one is really good because it's a digital conference, so you don't have to leave your house. You can hang out in your pajamas and join the conference and check it out, and see different people, different authors that you might have never met otherwise. Okay, I think that's as much as I'm doing for the pitch for Inkers Con. Sorry, guys. I get excited about these things because these are experiences and things that I didn't have available to me when I started as an author. I didn't know about these things. And so the fact that you can know about this, the fact that you can understand it and have the opportunity is huge. It's really huge. All right, let's move on. Questions. We're right on time for questions, I think. So we have Audrey's questions because Audrey has an unbroken streak. Audrey. Okay, here we go. Audrey's first question. Thank you for the questions, Audrey, because they add a fantastic feature to the show. All right, what part, the first question to Orlando, what part of the M&S books is the most fun to write? So M&S books have an interesting, I want to say, framework, right? You get the introduction, and it's usually a little slow in the beginning of it, although some books they hit the ground running. But you get the introduction, it's kind of a build-up, a build-up, a build-up. When everything hits the fan, that moment, Dolly tells me it's like everything takes off. So that moment when everything takes off, when it's like, okay, move, we gotta go. Oh my God, this person coming, they're attacking from here. Oh no, they're attacking from over there. That moment right there when everything starts to take off is the most fun to write. And then from that point on, it's me trying to keep up with the story because it's just going so fast and I have to slow it down. And I've been told before that my big boss battles usually at the end of the story go so fast. But you have to understand that I've been writing the big boss battle. The big boss battle has been happening since about the middle of the book. It just seems like it comes to a climax at the end of the story, but it's been happening since that moment where the boss or the evil person or the antagonist reveals themselves, and it just goes on from there. So
does it count if they're not actively on the page?
Yes, it counts. So the question is, does it count if they're not actively on the page? The reason it counts, and I'm going to answer your question, yes, because there are activities that are happening away from what you can see that are incited by the antagonist. So you're still fighting the antagonist. You're still dealing with the antagonist, even though it's by proxies. Like you might be dealing with the antagonist's hench person or a plan that the antagonist set into motion. So you're still, even though it's removed, you're still fighting, dealing, being an obstacle to that antagonist. And so all that leads up to that battle at the end, but throughout all that time, you've been facing the antagonist, because the antagonist is, how every story has a conflict. So the antagonist has been creating the conflict this whole time, even though it's not direct in the beginning of that conflict. It wouldn't have happened if it weren't for the antagonist, right? Like in Outcast, what's happening in Outcast now?
It's not the same. It's like you go to a party and you get little treats, but really you're waiting for the cake.
Yeah, but that's not a good comparison.
If you get a tiny sliver of the cake, it's disappointing. It doesn't
Right.
matter how many treats you've had before.
But it's not the same thing. It's like, this is like if you go to the party, right, and you get to taste part of the cake first.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Well, that's what the story is like, but not treats. It has to be part of the cake that you're gonna get later on. That would make it a metaphor that makes sense.
But the cake is the big boss.
Right, the cake is the big sauce.
The cake is the final.
But you're getting a little bit of it, to kind of give you a taste of, oh, this cake is really good. I want that.
But the cake represents
Uh-huh.
the baddest, the character, the main antagonist, the
Right.
treats of the henchmen and the
Yeah.
obstacles.
Yeah, but that's not the same.
The dialogue.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but it's not the same. It doesn't work as an analogy. What is it with cake? It would be like if you're going to fight an antagonist and you get all the antagonist's henchmen first. You're still fighting the antagonist, but it's through the henchmen first. And so it's like a video game in a way. In order to get to the final level, you got to get through all the other levels. If you can't get through the other levels, you can't get to the final level, right? And the antagonist is waiting for you on the final level. But if you're not good enough, dangerous enough, powerful enough, skilled enough, you're not going to get to that final level. And so you've got to be able to get there. And in the story, in that story setting, that means overcoming obstacles, overcoming yourself, overcoming flaws, things like that have to happen in order to get to that antagonist. And the only way you can get all of that stuff out is through facing these henchmen or hench people. They start revealing your flaws. They start revealing all the stuff that comes out. And then you have to face it. And then you realize, if I don't conquer this in me and myself, the antagonist is going to destroy me. I got to deal with this first before I can face that antagonist. And so that's why it seems like the antagonist fight, it seems short-lived, but you've been fighting the antagonist from the beginning, basically. You know, like in Outcast, it's like, I don't want to give too much of the story away, but that's what's happening with Monty and Simon, that they're facing an antagonist that seems overwhelming, but they've got to deal with the stuff first. Hey, Cindy, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for being here. It's awesome.
I think it's a different experience because you're writing it.
Yes.
When you're writing it, because in your mind, it's everything that you explained.
Right.
But for the reader, we're waiting for the climax.
Yes, I think so too. So what do you guys think? I mean, Dolly has a good point. The reader doesn't know the behind the scenes, right?
Correct.
So the reader doesn't know what's happening off. To give a film analogy, the reader doesn't know what's happening off camera, right? So, but what do you guys think as readers? What do you guys feel as readers? Does it seem like it rushes at the end and then all stuff happens all at once? Or are you seeing the slow buildup? Sometimes you can see the slow buildup, and sometimes it seems like it comes out of nowhere. You know, so it depends. It depends. Right, next question. But yes, Audrey, that question is fantastic. The best part, the most fun to me, is when things start taking off. The next question is for Dolly, and the question is, what, to you, are the most important elements of good writing? Boom, go.
Audrey, are you sure that question was meant for me? Because it seems like Orlando would be the best person, the better person to answer that.
No, that's what she says. What to you, not what to Orlando.
But Dolly and Orlando, we have, letters, 3 letters that are the same. So maybe she didn't type yours.
I don't think so. She's very clearly put them in a different order, and DOLLY. So what are the important elements of good writing to you?
For me, I'd say the most important thing are the characters. If the characters are annoying, and even though they're meant to be that way, for example, I was reading a book, which obviously I will not give the title because
we don't do
there
that.
are many readers who enjoy the books. I just didn't. And the character was written to be whiny and flighty, and the other character was written to be, very brash and too bossy. And I did not like their interactions, and I did not like how the female character was so, whiny.
Right.
And I just couldn't. And I kind of actually read the first book.
Oh, I have readers like that hate read my books. Yes.
So it was engaging in that way. The plot was interesting. But I just couldn't continue the series.
Right.
So characters are very important, and it has to be funny and witty. So, for example, Sir Terry Pratchett books.
Oh yeah, Terry Pratchett, but he's a master. He's like
continuous throughout the book. It's not, he has 5 pages of funny and witty, and then the rest of the book is
Terry's on a level completely on its own.
A book that kind of keeps you intellectually engaged,
right? And
which you constantly have to ask yourself, hey, did I miss something here?
Right.
Was there something, an Easter egg here? Was there something in the turn of the phrase that was supposed to be funny that I didn't get?
Yes. Terry's a master at that too.
Yeah. I like detailed passages.
Yeah.
Not overly,
well, not minutia, not to the minutia.
It just gets exhausting.
Right.
Also anything that, books like and Andy Weir's, is that how you
Yeah,
pronounce
Andy
his name?
Weir. Yeah.
Andy Weir's books
Yeah.
are, even the it can be heavy in terms of explanations, you know, the scientific stuff.
Sure.
But it's so.
But Andy
it's-
does hard science too.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's such a clever and original way of thinking.
Yes.
And the story is very, you know,
It's
original.
captivating. Yeah.
There's no, he drew from various disciplines. He added creativity, he added problem solving,
Sure.
and I think that makes for a great story.
It also makes for a good movie because they
Yes.
turned his books into movies. So
Yes.
yeah. I want to agree with you there that I'm gonna if I may, I'm going to add my 2 cents to this. The for me, the important elements of writing is I think where it starts for me is that the characters have to be engaging. If the characters are not engaging, the plot, well, you have to make people care about your characters. So I'm giving you. So Dolly's gonna give you the reader's point of view. I'm gonna give you from the writer's point of view, even though I am a reader as well. But if the characters are engaging, it's kind of like the plot is awesome, but the character. Why would you want to follow the character through the story if the character is kind of blah or whiny, as she said, or wishy-washy, or it's implausible that this character would go do this? It's one thing to have a character that starts out weak and becomes strong over time, but if the character is just irritating and annoying, and I get it, writing is subjective. So what I may find I don't like, other people may be like, oh, that's a great story, that's a great character. So it's definitely subjective. But for me, character comes first, and then you put this amazing character into an amazing situation or to a dangerous situation or a funny situation. But the character has to be first. So that's one of the most important elements to me. All right. Next, Orlando, what is one mistake established authors often make? Okay, that we can spend a whole show on this one, Audrey, but I'll give you some basic ones. Naming multiple characters with the same first letter. So you have Albert and Arthur and Anton, and eventually what happens is that Albert becomes Anton and Anton becomes Albert, and they all the names start getting jumbled. So using the first letter to name multiple characters in a story is a good way to confuse your readers. Don't do that as an established author. Another mistake, like Dolly was saying, is that the over explanation of things. What happens or what comes across is that you're not treating your readers as intelligent individuals. So what you're doing is when you over explain as an author, there's a difference. When I do it in the Monty and Strong stories, because it's a mage thing, and I want to make Monty come across as condescending, or he gets into his professor mode and he starts over explaining stuff, that's a character trait. He wants to, when he gets into that mode, he starts to over explain. That's different. When you do that as an author, when it's your voice, the author, and you're trying to explain something, a few things are happening. Either you're trying to show how smart you are as an author. That's not a good idea. You're trying to show off the research that you had to do as an author. Also not a good idea. Or you're not respecting your reader's intelligence to figure things out on their own. Also not a good idea. So over explanation has a tendency to drag a story down. Like if it gets too heavy on the explanation, the story grinds to a halt while you're explaining everything. Have it happen on the fly. So that's one mistake I've seen established authors make. Another mistake that established authors make, I mean, I know you said what is one, but there are so many. There are a few. And I've been guilty of these too. So it's not like I'm saying I don't do these. I do them. But the one mistake that I've never done, but that I have seen a few authors make, as I've told Dolly, is put commercials in the books. What I mean by putting commercials in the books is let's say I'm writing a Monty and Strong story, and I start writing about that one time that Simon was rescued by Peaches and Rags and Cece. And if you really want to know more about this story, go read Brew and Chew. That would be a mistake, because now I'm taking you out of this story. I'm sending you to another story, and it breaks the flow of the story. So you can allude to things that happen, like, oh, remember that time you were rescued? And then someone would say, like, I was never rescued. And then, but you allude to it without having to say. And if you really want to know more about that story, well, go read that story. That would be a problem. That's a mistake. I consider that a mistake. Don't write. Heather saying don't write Mary Sue traits. Yes, some readers do not like someone who fixes all. Yeah, you can't do Mary Sue's, and you can't do Deus ex machina. Like at the last minute, there's a special thingamabob that solves everything and that defeats the bad guy, and he got it at the last second from that little old lady on the corner. You can't do that because it cheats the reader and it cheats the story too. And it seems like they don't earn, Yeah, the true believers in story commercial. Exactly. If you grew up reading comics, you know exactly what Anthony is talking about. True believers. So things like that break the flow. Those are what I consider mistakes that established authors make. And the way to overcome that is to have a really good, awesome group of readers that are not scared to tell the author this doesn't work or this isn't really plausible. And yes, there's a suspension of disbelief, right? Because you're reading a story. But even within that suspension of disbelief, things have to be plausible. Things have to work. You wanna call my closer? Because it's getting close to the time. So yeah, even in that suspension of disbelief, you want to have, like, if you create a magic system, it's got to work within your world. If you create that certain things happen, it's got to work in a certain way. It's got to be believable in your world, and you can't deviate from that too much, because then it's like the reader's going to be like, why it worked this way in this story, but now it's going to work a different way in a different story? How? Why? So you've got to stay true to those things. And if you establish something a certain way, like Monty doesn't eat meat, I'm not going to have him eating hamburgers in a book or a steak. That would be Simon, So things like that. So you have to kind of keep the continuity of things. And that's another mistake that established authors often make. I think sometimes that's just because they have too many characters or too many things are happening. But like having a character, his name is Robert in chapter 1, and then his name is Terrence in chapter 10. What happened? Who's Terrence? Where did he come from? Things like that. So lack of continuity in certain things can really break the flow of a story without continuity. So things like that. Yeah, that's a great question, Audrey, and something that I try to always keep present when I write, and it's a lot to keep present. Wendy, we're almost done. Yes. Let's see. Before I sign off, so Wendy, don't fall asleep. We're almost done. We gotta do the voting for the closing song, for the closing theme song. And my closer is here, so she's gonna close soon. Dan says, before I sign off, make sure you watch, if you haven't already, the new Captain America Brave. Oh, that's the one with the Falcon, who is now Captain America. I'll definitely check it out. Please do. Yes, I would definitely. Dan, put the link on the MoB, and I'll definitely give it a look. Audrey, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for the questions.
Thank you for the questions.
There's a great questions. I mean, and I don't read your questions until the day of the Kaffeeklatsch, because I want the answer to be as fresh and spontaneous as possible. But I always make sure I read them on the day of. Have to be early to feed the horses. You're taking. Oh yeah, so we're almost done. I don't know what time it is where you are, Wendy. It's probably late if you're saying you have to be up early. So we're gonna close. Where's my closer? Where's my closer to close up? My closer's coming. Awesome. One day I'm gonna do a link of all your openings and closings, so we can see you as a tiny, because you don't even fit in the screen now. If you stand up all the way. Yeah, you're taller than where the camera is. So please do the closing.
Thank you for coming to MoB Kaffeeklatsch episode 122, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, closer. That was awesome. Yes. All right, 1 to 7, guys. We're gonna do our usual. What is going to be the closing theme song? We have 7 options. So pick a number 1 to 7. The first 10 people. Go. Have a great weekend, guys. Okay, let's see. I'm seeing a lot of 5s already. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. 7. All right, so let me close off, guys, as you guys vote. Dolly, count the numbers. I think 5 is winning.
5, you think?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much 5. All right, so guys, as always, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for being here. This for our MoB episode 122, which is, it still boggles my mind that we've done 122 of these. Thank you for everything, Connie, all of you that are here today sharing. It's a short amount of time, but it's an important and a precious amount of time. And I really want to thank you for the gift of your time to be here with us and to share and talk and just spend time together. It's amazing. And I really look forward to one day that we could do this in person and have a place where we just all get together one day and just talk and spend time with each other and drink coffee and tea and whatever it is you drink, and have a great time of it and talk about characters and stories and how the stories impacted our lives. So remember our 3 B's: be kind, be unstoppable, and be uncommon. Have a great weekend. I think it's 5. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Wendy. Enid, thank you. Oh, yes, Connie, I'll make sure she gets your thanks. The closer gets your thanks. And remember, Hulk and M&S Smash. That's right. Hulk and M&S Smash. Thank you, Kitty, for being here and hanging out with us. Wendy's, thank you for staying up, even though you're sleepy. Thank you to all of you. And if you're watching this and it's been recorded and you're watching the recorded show, thank you so much for watching it, because that you matter as well. I mean, you may not be able to be here live. We have our lives and we have our responsibilities. We have things to do. But the fact that you can come back and watch it even after it's recorded, I really do appreciate you. So thank you so much. All right, I'm going to put our song. Let's remove the